Hey crafty people, it's Tasha and I'm back with another video tutorial for Pear Blossom Press. Today I'm making a Christmas card with a fun twist. So there's ink blending, stenciling, and I'm going to be adding twinkle lights for that extra wow factor. So let's talk supplies. I've got some twinkle lights, obviously, the Season's Greetings die cut from Trinity Stamps, which I pre-made to save us a little bit of time here. I also grabbed a bunch of stencils because honestly I wasn't sure at this point what I'd end up using for the background. Then I've got some A2 coloured cardstock and this abstract twirly tree stencil that I just love. And of course I'll pull in some basic tools and inks and stuff as I go along. First up, I'm starting on the background. I picked this gorgeous red-orange shade of cardstock. Now, this stuff is a little bit thinner than the usual £80 that I like, but I really love the colours in this pack and they're all pre-cut to A2 size, which I just find super convenient. I'm using some low tack tape on the back to hold my stencil in place, and then I'm going in with a deep red ink and a paper pouncer to get all of the detail through the stencil. Now, if you use one of these applicators, remember to pounce the ink in, not swipe like you might with a brush, because that will just wreck your pouncer. Once I have the entire panel covered, I'm carefully peeling the stencil away to reveal the first layer of pattern. I always find there's something so satisfying in that moment, isn't there? Then I rotated the stencil, lining it up to add a second layer of detail. This is such a simple step, but it's going to create a seamless all over pattern and it looks like it was always intended to be like that. If you're feeling a bit worried about alignment, just don't be. Just take a moment to check the spacing before you press it down. After stenciling the second layer, I like to take a metaphorical step back to check the overall balance. I always think it's worth doing this because it lets you see if there are any areas that might need more ink or a bit more blending. So I'm happy with how it's looking so far, but I always like to add this next step. I'm grabbing a blending brush now and that same red ink, and I'm getting to work on the edges of my panel. So this is such an easy way to frame the design and add a sense of depth. I like to build up the colour gradually, blending in small circular motions to keep it soft and even, letting the colour fade off into that ink blended pattern. Now, it's amazing how this one little step, just darkening those edges up, completely transforms the background, gives it that extra dimension and just gives a finishing touch. You'll really notice the difference when you see how it ties the whole card together later. Trust me, this step is always worth the few extra minutes. And don't forget now to set it aside to dry. Okay, now splatter makes everything better. It just does. I don't make the rules. So I grabbed my metallic watercolors, and there are actually two shades of gold in this set that I've got. So I picked the one that best matched with my sentiment. You want to let that pigment wake up in the water and then give it a really good mix to make sure that you're going to get the most solid metallic. Then just splatter it all over the panel and again set it aside somewhere to dry flat. So for the tree, I'm using a green panel from the same paper pad and this abstract twirly tree stencil. So it's a two-part design. It's really easy to line up because the stencil has got some guidelines etched in, so you just shift and rotate it to complete the shape, just lining up those guidelines with the bit that you've already blended. I'm wanting a tone-on-tone kind of look for this card, so I used a couple of green inks to add some dimension. Darkening the edges of the tree helps create a highlight in the centre. That's going to make it look more 3D, which is going to tie in beautifully with the twirling ribbon design of the stencil. Once that's done, I let it dry. Now, I am always saying, let it dry, let it dry. You don't see me waiting in the video because, let's be real, no one wants to watch ink dry. So I do cut those bits out. I trimmed out the tree using my paper trimmer, and to get an even cut, I like to line up the edge of the image with one of the lines on that safety guideline bit on the trimmer. So this is going to give you a smaller border than if you use the measured lines, but it's still perfectly even. To make the tree pop even more, I'm adding details with a white gel pen, just little dots and lines that follow the curve of the tree. It's a simple step, but it really accentuates that 3D effect. Now it's time for the twinkle lights. These are so much fun. So you've got 3 LEDs on wires, so you can position them exactly where you want them to be. Start by sliding the battery into the housing and checking that everything's working. Then I'm using a paper piercer to make 3 small holes in the tree where the lights are going to shine through, making sure that I leave space across the centre of the tree for my sentiment. Next, I lined up each LED with one of the holes and taped it in place. So don't worry about the wires and the battery pack and everything being all messy at this point. We're going to sort that out a little bit later. Just keep checking the lights and adjusting as needed to make sure that they're in the right place and they're facing outward for maximum effect. Once I've got my lights secure, I can just sort of twist and tuck in the wires neatly, securing them with some more tape, and then stick the battery pack down with some double-sided tape so that the button is where I want it to be. And then just do one last check just to make sure that everything still looks good, nothing's shifted. To attach the tree to the card, I'm using the best ever foam adhesive from Pear Blossom Press. So it's double thick, so it's perfect for fitting with the battery pack and wires and everything. This foam tape is also really forgiving. You can actually peel it back up and reposition it within the first 30 minutes, but after that, once it's stuck, it is stuck. It's going nowhere. I love having that kind of extra wiggle room just to make adjustments in case I don't get it in the right place first time. Now all that messy wiring is completely hidden and everything looks really clean and polished. After making sure that everything's in place and the lights are working still, I added my die cut sentiment across the middle of the tree. I used some liquid adhesive where it's over the tree and then a bit more of that foam tape to support the ends of the words. Now, because I managed to misplace my super handy Push stamp set, again, I just wrote out press here with a white gel pen. I trimmed it down and stuck it over the button so the recipient knows what to do. Then for the finishing touch, I added some gold bauble embellishments to the tree, tying in the gold splatter and sentiment perfectly. So have you tried these twinkling lights yet? I think they're so much fun and they are absolutely perfect for the holiday season. Here's my finished card. It's got this fabulous abstract ink blended tree and those lights give it the most amazing effect. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share to all your crafty friends. And I'd love to hear your thoughts or see your own projects, so let me know down below. Have a lovely, happy, safe and wonderful week. Stay crafty. Bye.